Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that pulls out the key knowledge from stacks of sources, basically giving you a shortcut to being really well informed. Today, we're diving into a world of, well, just breathtaking ambition and equally monumental challenges. Mega projects. I mean, just
Yeah.
picture the sheer scale. Think of Palladio's Bassano Bridge, right? An icon, still standing. Or, flip to modern times, those audacious skyscrapers Charles Kuebert writes about. Buildings so tall they literally reshape cityscapes. These aren't just, big construction jobs. They're really feats of human ingenuity. They push the limits of what we think is possible, challenging engineering, collaboration, everything.
And that's exactly it. That's where the profound challenge really starts. They are inherently, almost dizzyingly complex. You look at sources like Francis D.K. Ching, and they really bring the technical details to life. It's fascinating stuff. Things like the foundation systems anchoring these giants, or the precise engineering of the framing, even the curtain walls, or something often overlooked like concrete curing, as Shodek points out. Each tiny piece is its own little universe. It's just an immense undertaking, a really delicate dance between countless stakeholders, vast resources, money, and just an overwhelming number of technical specs. It's the kind of place where, the smallest mistake can ripple outwards. Big consequences, catastrophic sometimes.
A universe unto itself. It's a great way to put it. So, our mission today in this deep dive is to explore how professional management frameworks have, well, evolved, how they tackle this complexity head on. We're going to unpack this idea of the professionalization of construction management, and we'll look specifically at two kind of titans in the field: the Project Management Institute's, that's PMI's PMBOK guide, and the Construction Management Association of America's CMAA's Standards of Practice. These aren't just dry textbooks, right? They're living blueprints, essential tools for anyone navigating these high-stakes projects.
Exactly. And by the end of this, you should have a much clearer, more intuitive feel for what really makes mega projects so tricky. Going beyond just size, we'll dig into the core management processes, defining scope, orchestrating the schedule, keeping tabs on costs, handling risk, and mastering communication, that crucial human element. And importantly, we'll shed light on how embracing these frameworks can really elevate your career if you're aiming to manage in this demanding field.
Ah,
The monumental challenge. What makes a mega project so complex?
okay, let's really get into this monumental challenge, because when we talk mega projects, it's not just saying it's a really big building, is it? There's a whole other level of scale involved.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on. Our sources, Keepert especially, push us way beyond just large. We're talking super tall structures, defined as what, 984 feet, 300 meters plus. And then you have mega tall, that's 1969 feet, 600 meters and up. I mean, think Burj Khalifa, Tokyo Skytree. This isn't just a number. That sheer scale, it just amplifies every single challenge exponentially. Imagine the logistics. Getting materials to the 100th floor, coordinating thousands of workers, dozens of trades, all at that height. Every problem just gets bigger, more expensive, more dangerous.
So it's not just the physics of building it, right? It's how that size morphs into this different beast. Complexity. The PMBOK guide talks about this inherent complexity often emerging unexpectedly, not from one single cause, but like loads of interactions, risks, dependencies, events, relationships. Can you unpack that a bit? What does that really mean on a mega project, and why is it so hard to pin down?
That's a crucial point, and it's really where project management proves its worth. What's so fascinating about emerging complexity is, well, you can't always predict it from the start. It's not in the initial plan. It arises from the dynamic interplay of countless individual parts within this huge project system. So, for example, you might have multiple regulatory agencies. Maybe they have slightly different rules, maybe conflicting rules. Or you're dealing with international finance institutions with their own demands, plus dozens of specialist subcontractors, local communities worried about traffic or noise. Each interaction adds another layer of uncertainty. You can't really isolate one cause because it's the convergence of all these things, like a complex chemical reaction suddenly producing a new, unforeseen challenge. It's more like an environmental shift, not just one problem popping up.
Wow, okay. And then, layered on top of all that technical, systemic complexity, you've got the human element. You just can't ignore it. Barbara Jackson points out that the nuanced human quality of communication often isn't formally taught, even though everyone says it's critical. And this lack of really effective communication, our sources suggest, directly leads to failures and unmet promises. It sounds like a massive hidden cost, doesn't it?
It absolutely is a huge hidden cost. We all nod, communication is key. But formal training, even on-the-job learning, often misses the nuances. How to really listen, how to phrase delicate talks, how to build consensus across different cultures or professional backgrounds. In a mega project where collaboration has to be seamless, any breakdown there can have massive knock-on effects. A misinterpreted email, an assumption not stated out loud, someone afraid to speak up. These aren't small things. They can turn minor issues into major roadblocks just because clarity and shared understanding break down.
Speaking of human interaction, navigating a mega project, it must involve this huge web of stakeholders, everyone with their own interests, maybe conflicting interests. Sounds like a constant negotiation, high stakes.
It really is a constant navigation exercise. Often feels like, yeah, a diplomatic mission. The PMBOK guide points out complexity gets amplified directly by the number and diversity of stakeholders. Just imagine coordinating not just your internal teams, engineering, construction, but also government agencies with strict codes, international investors wanting specific returns, tons of vendors, dozens of highly specialized subs, local community groups worried about neighborhood character. Each group adds another layer. More interactions, dependencies, different goals. It just increases the overall intricacy exponentially. It's less like managing one team, more like conducting a massive orchestra where everyone has a slightly different score.
And within the project itself, Barbara Jackson breaks down the typical commercial team. The owner, the main design firm, could be architects, could be engineers, and then the general contractor. But it doesn't stop there, does it? There are layers and layers of subcontractors, service providers, all working together. Sounds like a potentially endless chain.
An endless chain is a good way to put it. And every single one of those subcontracted parties becomes a crucial, extended part of the team, often bringing really specialized skills. Our sources highlight that the more complex the project, generally, the more subs you have involved. You have a superintendent, for instance. They're coordinating the field work, making sure all these trades, electricians, plumbers, facade installers, are working perfectly in sync, often down to the minute. Then there's the project manager, usually handling the alignment between the owner's vision, the design blueprints, and the day-to-day construction. Without strong, clear leadership, without someone laser-focused on coordinating this huge, multi-layered network, the risk of failure just shoots up. It really shows the coordination isn't just about scheduling. It's about leading this massive human enterprise through a minefield.
It sounds like a constant juggling act, truly, and I can only imagine in that kind of dynamic, high-pressure environment, things rarely stay still. There are always unforeseen challenges popping up. And let's be honest, human resistance to change. How do you even manage that? It's like a moving target.
That's a profoundly critical point. The PMBOK guide talks about this directly. Some people are just inherently resistant to change or risk-averse. And sometimes whole organizations can have conservative cultures that push back against innovation. So for change management to work, a motivational strategy is way better than just forcing it. It needs real engagement, two-way communication. You have to create an environment where change can actually be adopted, assimilated. And that means genuinely listening to valid concerns from people who are hesitant, addressing them. The vision, the goals behind the change, they need to be communicated early, clearly, consistently, to get real buy-in, not just reluctant compliance. It's about building bridges, not just issuing orders from on high.
Right, so it's not just pushing directives, it's bringing people along, understanding their fears, their skepticism, and I guess projects in really fast-changing areas like markets with constant new products or tech trends, they must face what the PMBOK guide calls moving targets for their definition of done. Sounds like trying to hit a moving bullseye.
Hitting a moving bullseye, yeah, that's a perfect analogy. Think about smart buildings, which Barbara Jackson mentions are getting really common now. Automated systems controlling temperature, lighting, security, everything. These rapid tech advances can bring in new requirements, fundamentally change project goals midstream. What you thought was done at the start might be outdated halfway through. It needs constant adaptation, renegotiation, reprioritizing deliverables. This isn't just a small tweak sometimes. It can fundamentally alter the final product and how you get there.
And then you have the more sort of practical on-the-ground problems, like design-related delays. Daniel Halpin's work shows that design errors or changes are a huge chunk of delays in contracts, often means costly time extensions. It's a stark reminder that precision right from day one is just paramount.
Absolutely. Even tiny errors in the initial design can have massive downstream effects on a mega project. Halpin cites a study, I think it was government contracts, where a large percentage of delays traced right back to fixing design problems. These aren't minor hiccups. They often need formal time extensions, sometimes even redesigns. That hits the schedule, hits the budget hard. It just underscores how critical meticulous design review and validation is, long before you even break ground. 2. The blueprint for order, professionalizing construction management.
Okay, given all this.
Yeah, the PMBOK guide, the 7th edition specifically, it went through a fundamental shift, almost philosophical. It moved from being process-based, which was more prescriptive, telling you exactly what steps to take, to being principles-based. This reflects how project management itself has evolved rapidly. The focus shifted from rigid deliverables to the intended outcomes. It's an acknowledgement that in today's really dynamic project world, a one-size-fits-all step-by-step recipe just isn't effective enough for emergent complexity. It's about understanding the underlying wisdom, the why, not just following a checklist.
So less do exactly this, more here are the guiding principles to get the right result, whatever the specific situation. That sounds like it needs a much deeper understanding, doesn't it? And these principles, they aren't just dreamed up somewhere, are they? Our sources say they're validated by a global community, practitioners. That sounds powerful.
That's the real strength. That's the validation. These principles were developed, refined, with feedback from a huge global community. Practitioners across different industries, organizations, roles, project types, all weighing in. This extensive validation ensures strong alignment. It confirms these guiding principles are broadly applicable across the whole spectrum of project management. Think of it like a universal operating system for projects, robust enough for countless applications because it's built on collective experience. Consensus.
Let's look at some of these principles in action. The PMBOK guide talks about care. What does that actually mean in the high-pressure world of a mega project? Care here is much more than just, being nice. It's about proactively fostering a specific environment. Psychological safety. It means creating transparency, open communication channels, and critically, giving opportunities for everyone CEO down to the laborer on site to raise concerns without penalty, without fear of retribution. This actively cultivates an atmosphere where critical issues, however small or awkward, get surfaced early. On a complex project, that psychological safety isn't a soft skill. It's a hard-nosed, essential risk mitigation strategy. It could turn a potential multi-million-dollar disaster into a minor early fix.
That ties directly into trust, which is another core principle. Trustworthiness, the PMBO guide calls it. Sounds like an ethical compass, but also really practical for managers.
Indeed. Trustworthiness means managers, or stewards, as the guide calls them, need to accurately represent themselves, their roles, their team, their authority, both inside and outside the project. This clarity lets everyone know exactly who has the power to commit resources, make decisions, approve things. Without that, projects just grind to a halt in uncertainty. It also means proactively spotting conflicts between personal interests and the organization's or client's interests, protecting the project from breaches of trust that could lead to unethical stuff or bad, biased decisions. It's really the bedrock for effective delegation and collaboration.
I can see how absolutely critical that would be. So many moving parts, so much at stake. And given that every single project is unique, how do these frameworks handle that? The PMBOK guide mentions tailoring.
Tailoring is fundamental because, like we've said, no two megaprojects are truly the same. It's the need to adapt methods, adapt practices to suit the unique characteristics and context of every single project. This might be implicit, like accepting an established methodology that already fits, maybe for a type of infrastructure you've built before. Or it can be explicit, where you selectively mix specific elements from different approaches, maybe blending traditional waterfall planning with some agile iterations to create a custom fit. Because every project has its own unique context, some tailoring is always needed. It makes sure the framework serves the project, not the other way around.
Okay, so PMI gives the principles, and then we have the CMAA's standards of practice. These feel more like a professional's practical guide, applying those principles specifically in construction. How does CMAA define construction management?
CMAA gives a really clear, concise definition. It brings it all together nicely. They describe construction management as the practice of professional management applied to the planning, design, and construction of projects from inception to completion for the purpose of controlling time, scope, cost, and quality. So it's holistic, start to finish, guiding a project from the very first idea right through completion and handover. And those four pillars, time, scope, cost, quality, always sharply in focus.
That's a really comprehensive definition, and CMAA emphasizes more than just process, right? It talks about the essence of good CM being professionalism and teamwork. It actually positions the CM not as dominant, but as a leader in service, integrating all the parts. That's a subtle difference, but powerful.
It really is. A powerful reframing of leadership. The CM, while definitely a leader, takes on a position of the service, integrating individual elements into a cohesive program. It's about fostering collaboration, making sure everyone's expertise is used effectively, not by dictating, but by enabling. This leadership isn't top-down commands. It's about empowering the team to perform at their best, making sure the right attitudes, shared goals, unwavering commitments are there across the whole project ecosystem.
So it's more than just individual expertise, it's how it all combines. Our sources highlight that CM involves applying integrated systems and procedures by a team to hit owner goals. The idea being the combined expertise gives a much bigger benefit than individuals working alone.
Absolutely. That greater benefit comes directly from the synergy of an integrated team. CMAA emphasizes these systems and procedures are specifically designed to bring each member's unique expertise into the project meaningfully, ensuring the collective intelligence, the collective effort, surpasses what any single person or department could do alone. This collaborative application of expertise isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a cornerstone of effective CM, especially for megaprojects.
And central to all this, the CMAA talks about the Project Management Plan, or PMP. This sounds like the master playbook, the constitution for the whole project.
It is, absolutely, the central, indispensable document. The CM develops a project-specific construction management plan. It clearly spells out roles, responsibilities, authority, procedures, everything to be followed during construction. This plan becomes the single source of truth for how the project will be managed. From communication lines to intricate shop drawing procedures, general written communication rules, it ensures everyone's literally on the same page, knows what's expected, understands how decisions get made, how problems get resolved. It brings order to potential chaos. 3. Navigating the core pillars of project management.
Okay, now we've got these foundational frameworks laid out. Let's zoom in on the core pillars of actually managing the project, starting with scope. This is basically defining what the project is, right? The grand vision, but translated into specifics. Our sources mention architectural programming as the initial research step.
That's truly where it all begins, often way before any drawings exist. Architectural programming, as Barbara Jackson describes it, it's that crucial early research and decision-making, where the owner, maybe with an architect or a specialist consultant, figures out the client's basic needs, the fundamental project parameters. It's about going from a general idea, we need a new office building, to a concrete understanding of what exactly needs building. How many offices? What kind of collaborative spaces? What are the functional requirements? It's that critical first step in nailing down the vision.
So once you know those needs, how do you break down that big, sometimes abstract vision into manageable, actionable pieces? The PMBOK guide talks about the work breakdown structure, the WBS.
The WBS, a fundamental and incredibly powerful tool for structured definition. As the PMBOK guide explains, it's a hierarchical decomposition of the total scope of work. Think of it like dissecting a complex machine into its component parts, or maybe a giant beast. Instead of just build a skyscraper, you systematically break it down. Smaller, manageable chunks. Site preparation, then excavate foundation, then erect steel frame, install HVAC, interior fit-out, and so on, down and down. This makes it infinitely easier to plan, estimate resources, schedule tasks, and ultimately control the work needed to hit objectives and create every single deliverable. It turns a colossal ambition into a series of achievable, trackable steps.
And in more adaptive approaches like software, but increasingly relevant elsewhere, our sources mention the definition of done, or DoD. A checklist for when deliverables are actually ready for the customer. Sounds like a clear finish line for each bit of work.
The definition of done is exactly that. A critical, objective checklist, really common in adaptive approaches, as the PMBOK guide notes. It specifies all the criteria that must be met for a deliverable to be considered truly complete, fully functional, ready for customer use. This gives an objective, unambiguous measure of completion and quality for each chunk of work. It stops those endless debates about whether something is mostly done or almost finished. Everyone gets a shared, crystal-clear understanding of what final success looks like for that specific component.
Even with clear definitions, things can get fuzzy, right? Especially in construction. Can lead to expensive arguments later. Sidney Levy really emphasizes subcontractor interviews and thorough documentation, making sure the scope is fully understood, acknowledged by everyone to avoid disputes down the road.
This is an absolutely critical preventative measure, especially with so many specialized trades involved. Levy highlights that disputes often pop up, not usually from malice, but when subs haven't fully understood or maybe misinterpreted the scope in the contract documents. So thorough, in-depth interviews, maybe using a structured form and meticulous documentation, ensure everyone acknowledges and explicitly agrees on the precise scope they're responsible for. That upfront clarity massively reduces the chance of costly changes, change orders, even legal fights later. It basically locks in expectations before work even starts.
And then once it's all finally built, there's a final definitive record. Barbara Jackson talks about as-built drawings. What are those? Why are they so crucial?
As-built drawings are the final updated record drawings. The contractor completes them right at the end, often reflecting thousands of changes from the original blueprints. They meticulously document any and all modifications, adjustments, deviations made to the original plans during actual construction. These are absolutely crucial documents handed over to the owner. They provide an accurate, real-world picture of the completed facility. Without them, future maintenance, repairs, renovations, way more difficult, inefficient, expensive. They are, essentially, the project's permanent memory.
Okay, next pillar. Schedule. Orchestrating time. Even with a perfect scope, if you don't know when things happen and in what order, you're in trouble. Big trouble. The PMBOK guide puts this squarely in the planning performance domain.
Precisely. The planning performance domain is the central hub, where all the project work gets systematically organized, elaborated, meticulously coordinated. It involves making rigorous quantitative assessments, estimates of things like duration, cost, resources needed, human effort. Basically, it's about translating that carefully broken down work into a precise logical timeline, making sure all dependencies are understood. It makes the colossal project executable in a structured, phased way. It's the conductor's score for the whole orchestra.
And when we talk duration, Daniel Halpin explains activities are usually measured in tangible units, working days, hours. Then you have milestones. What exactly are those in this grand score?
Milestones, as Halton describes them, they're significant points of interest or critical achievements within the timeline. But importantly, they have zero duration themselves. They mark key events or accomplishments, like the official project start, completing a major phase, like the foundation, passing a critical inspection, handing over a section. They're like crucial checkpoints on a long journey. They let teams and stakeholders track progress, celebrate achievements. Even though no actual work happens on the milestone itself, they're indicators, not activities.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me. The critical path. I hear that term thrown around a lot. Halpin defines it as the sequence of activities you cannot delay without pushing back the whole project completion date. So if anything on this path slips, even by an hour, the entire project slips. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And it's why understanding the critical path is so incredibly vital. It represents the longest sequence of dependent activities from start to finish. And crucially, it has zero float, zero slack. Any delay to any activity on this critical path directly, immediately, proportionally impacts the project's overall completion date. Imagine a train schedule with only one track to the destination. If a train on that track gets delayed, every train behind it gets delayed too. Identifying and rigorously managing that critical path is paramount for keeping megaprojects on schedule. It lets managers focus attention, focus resources where they're most needed to protect the timeline. It's the project's pulse.
So that's the more traditional sort of linear view. What about adaptive scheduling, like in agile or lean, especially when things are changing all the time?
Yeah.
The PMBO guide mentions time boxes and prioritized backlogs.
Right. Adaptive approaches, often used in very dynamic or uncertain environments, they embrace flexibility over rigid, upfront planning. The PMBOK guide explains teams use time boxes. These are fixed short durations, maybe a few weeks typically. During that time box, they commit to completing a specific set of work pulled from a prioritized backlog. Teams are usually self-managing within these time boxes. They demonstrate their completed work at the end of each period. This allows for regular adjustments, reprioritization based on new requirements, new information, feedback. It keeps the project responsive, delivering value incrementally. It's less about one grand, unchanging plan, more about continuous calibration.
That makes total sense, constantly recalibrating, course-correcting. And the PMBOK guide also distinguishes between effort-driven and fixed-duration activities. Can you clarify that, maybe with a simple example?
Yeah, this distinction is really crucial for realistic scheduling and resource allocation. Effort-driven activities like, say, framing a building or digging a trench, you can potentially shorten their duration by adding more people or equipment. Up to a point. Beyond that optimal point, adding more resources can actually create inefficiencies, more complexity, paradoxically extend the duration. You know, the classic, too many cooks in the kitchen. In contrast, fixed duration activities like waiting for concrete to cure, running a specific chemical test, a mandatory training session, they have an unchangeable duration. Doesn't matter how many resources you throw at them. Understanding this difference helps make truly realistic schedules, not just wishful thinking.
That's a great distinction. Okay, let's talk lean and reliable planning.
Okay.
Our sources, Ballard and Tomlin particularly, discuss the Last Planner System, LPS, aims to improve workflow reliability, increase the match between what was done and what was planned, Sounds like it's about closing that gap between intention and reality.
That's exactly it. The last planner system is a cornerstone of lean construction, fundamentally designed to boost workflow reliability by closing that critical gap. Its core goal is improving the match between did, what actually got accomplished, and will, what was committed to be done. It grew out of recognizing chronically low workflow reliability in traditional construction. So it drives this focus on learning to consistently, reliably do what we say we're going to do. It's a shift from just making plans to making reliable plans.
So how does that actually work day to day on a busy site? Our sources mention weekly work plans and look-ahead planning.
Yeah, these are practical, indispensable parts of LPS. Weekly work plans are meticulously coordinated. They focus only on tasks that are well-defined, sound meaning all resources and preconditions are met properly sequenced, and sized right for the performer. Look-ahead planning, on the other hand, is proactive. Forward-looking, it ensures what should be done according to the master schedule actually can be done when it's needed. It involves identifying and systematically removing potential constraints, material delays, design questions, equipment availability well in advance, preventing interruptions to that crucial workflow.
Yeah, and then there's pull planning. This seems really collaborative, like it involves everyone.
It absolutely does. Pull planning is highly collaborative, very visual, used to detail master schedules phase by phase, often working backward from a key milestone. It brings together various levels of the team, supers, foremen, key trade partners, often literally with sticky notes on a wall, collaboratively planning tasks. This ensures work is pulled through the system as needed by the next activity downstream, rather than just pushed out from a central, maybe out-of-date schedule. It fosters shared understanding, shared commitment to the flow of work.
All right, next up, cost. Managing the financial pulse. This is where the rubber really meets the road, financially speaking, where projects can go off the rails fast. Our PMBOK guide sources highlight the planning performance domain again as central to solid estimating and budgeting.
Absolutely. That planning performance domain isn't just scheduling. It covers all activities, all functions related to organizing and coordinating work, including meticulous cost estimating and budgeting. This domain ensures organizational policies, procedures for cost management are rigorously applied, even for adaptive approaches where costs might be estimated iteratively, not just one fixed sum upfront. It's about building a robust financial model that can actually adapt to the project's changing reality.
Project managers have to be incredibly detail-oriented here, don't they? Sydney Levy mentions they must monitor cost reporting, make sure the right code numbers go to the right tasks, quantities reported consistently. Like square feet of contact area for formwork. Specifics matter.
Precision in cost monitoring is utterly crucial. Prevents small errors snowballing. Levy stresses project managers need to verify correct, granular code numbers are assigned to every single work task, and that quantities square feet for formwork, cubic yards for concrete are reported consistently across the board. The specific system might vary, but consistency is key. Ensures unit costs are accurately applied, tracked against the budget. Any miscoding, inconsistent reporting, it can quickly distort the financial picture, lead to nasty surprises later on.
Yeah, I can easily see how things could spiral. And then there's the contractor's broader financial health. Daniel Halpin talks about the contractor's overdraft profile, needing a line of credit to cover expenses. Really shows how crucial sound financial management is to the project's basic viability.
This really highlights the financial tightrope contractors often walk. It's often unseen. Halpin illustrates how contractors frequently face this fluctuating overdraft profile. They need a substantial line of credit just to manage cash flow. Expenses, payroll, materials almost always come before payments from the owner, which might be tied to milestones or progress claims. So having adequate, accessible financing, usually a solid line of credit, is absolutely essential. Covers those operating costs, keeps the project financially viable without stopping. A contractor without that buffer, they can find themselves in deep trouble fast, even on a profitable job.
And to keep track of all this, our sources mention earned value analysis, with metrics like BCWP, ACWP, BCWS, budgeted cost of work performed, actual cost, budgeted cost of work scheduled. These sound like key indicators, like a project's financial vital signs.
They are indeed the project's financial vital signs, giving an objective snapshot of health. Earned value analysis, as Halpin describes it, offers this powerful set of metrics, tracks both cost and schedule performance together, integrated. Think of it like this. BCWS, budgeted cost of work scheduled, that's your train schedule, where you should be financially right now. BCWP, budgeted cost of work performed, that's how much track you've actually laid, valued at its budgeted cost. ACWP, actual cost of work performed, that's how much you actually spent to lay that track. By comparing these, managers can quickly see variances, assess if the project train is on time, on budget, or if it's starting to derail, allows for immediate corrective action.
And for certain contract types, like guaranteed maximum price GMP contracts, there are specific controls. Levy notes the owner usually has the right to audit the contractor's books. Means careful cost segregation, clear change orders, detailed logs are essential, almost like preparing for a forensic audit constantly.
For GMP contracts, transparency isn't just good practice. It's often legally mandated. Paramount. Levy emphasizes the owner's explicit right to audit the contractor's books. That necessitates meticulous cost segregation, differentiating what's reimbursable from what's not. Every single change in scope, up or down, must be documented. Clear, fully executed change orders. Without detailed logs, meticulous financial records, an auditable trail, the contractor could face huge challenges during the final cost accounting, the audit, potentially losing out on legitimate reimbursements. It really is like prepping for a forensic audit from day one.
Meticulous record keeping sounds vital, especially when unexpected costs pop up. Levy also talks about acceleration costs for expedited work and idle equipment costs during delays. Real financial hits. Need careful documentation to get reimbursed.
Yeah, these are common scenarios, and they can dramatically escalate costs fast. Acceleration costs happen when work needs speeding up, often means costly overtime, extra shifts, more resources, which can also lower productivity sometimes. Idle equipment costs, on the other hand, happen when expensive machinery owned or leased just sits there, unproductive, during delays. In both cases, Levy underscores the absolute necessity of meticulous documentation, precise dates, times, types of equipment, clear justification of active versus idle periods. You need all that to justify and recover these significant, often unforeseen expenses. This detailed tracking is the contractor's best defense against financial loss from external factors.
And finally, on cost, how do contractors account for their heavy machinery, their ongoing operational expenses? Halpin explains depreciation, like the production method, and prorating overhead charges.
These are fundamental accounting practices. Keep the financial engine running. Halpin describes how the huge costs of equipment get managed through depreciation. The production method is popular because it aligns depreciation with the equipment's actual productive use. This can offer tax benefits. Lets contractors offset taxable income more effectively when the equipment is actually generating profit. And general overhead charges, maintenance facility costs, office staff wages, even part of supervisor salaries get systematically prorated across the whole equipment fleet, based on operational hours. This ensures these indirect but essential costs are systematically recovered from clients, reflecting the true cost of doing business.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, let's move to risk. Anticipating and mitigating the unknown. This sounds like detective work. Trying to spot trouble before it starts, then building an arsenal to handle it. The CMAA describes risk management as systematic.
It is indeed. Systematic, methodical. A blend of foresight and strategy. CMAA defines risk management as identifying not just risks, but also opportunities early on in the project lifecycle, then tracking and actively managing them throughout. The ultimate goal: strategically lessen the impact of negative risk events while simultaneously maximizing the potential of positive opportunities. It's about being proactive, not just reactive, in a world full of surprises.
The PMBUK guide also highlights identifying, analyzing, managing potential downsides, and making stakeholders aware, informed. That's about transparency, isn't it?
Exactly. Proactive disclosure. Fostering a culture of informed awareness. The PMBOK guide emphasizes practitioners must rigorously identify, analyze potential negative outcomes, and then ensure all stakeholders are not just generally aware but informed about the specifics. This transparency builds trust, allows for collective, well-considered decisions on how to address potential problems, rather than surprising stakeholders later with unmanaged crises. It's about shared knowledge leading to shared responsibility and better solutions.
So risk isn't just a downside then. The CMA actually talks about risk being a source of danger, sure, but also opportunities. Opportunities to reduce costs, shorten schedule, improve quality. That's a fascinating angle.
It's a crucial distinction, often overlooked. We instinctively link risk with negative outcomes, dangers. But CMAA astutely points out, risk also presents opportunities. If managed effectively, these opportunities may be a new technology pops up mid-project, or an unexpected availability of skilled workers that can lead to real reductions in cost and schedule, or even significant quality improvements. It reframes risk management. It's a dual process, threat mitigation and opportunity exploitation, turning potential negatives into strategic advantages.
So once you spot a risk, what do? CMAA lists several mitigation strategies, like building a whole arsenal to deal with threats.
Mitigation strategies are your project's defensive and offensive arsenal. For controlling risk impact, CMAA outlines several key approaches. Risks can be transferred to a third party, like through specialized insurance or contractual clauses, they can be mitigated. Through various project-specific insurance types or diversifying plans, they can be minimized. Through careful planning, robust controls, proactive monitoring, or ideally even eliminated entirely. Through early design and engineering changes that just remove the risk source altogether. The choice of strategy depends on the risk's nature, severity, probability.
Sounds like this isn't a set it and forget it plan, though. Barbara Jackson stresses that risk mitigation plans are dynamic tools, need constant adjustment as the project goes on. Managers have to be diligent, scouting for anything that might derail things, continuous vigilance.
That's an absolutely critical insight. Jackson underscores, these plans are not static documents you file away. Construction environments, inherently fluid, constantly changing, so the risk plan must be a dynamic living tool. Regularly reviewed, updated, adjusted, project managers need to maintain this vigilant, almost hawk-like posture, continuously scouting the horizon for new threats, subtle shifts in old ones, emergence of unforeseen challenges. Relying on an initial plan without constant adaptation, as she implies it's naive, can lead to disaster.
Are there specific types of risks that pop up a lot in construction, things managers might overlook? Jackson mentions environmental risks.
Yes, environmental risks are surprisingly common, and they can have severe, often project-stopping consequences. Jackson gives specific examples, like encountering protected wetlands, can lead to significant delays, hefty fines, greatly increased costs if not handled properly through permits or redesigns. Similarly, unexpectedly finding endangered species can trigger immediate project stop orders, further, potentially indefinite delays. These types of risks need thorough, often costly site investigation. Ecological assessments, well before breaking ground, might even need innovative solutions like wetlands banking or ecological offsets. They're the hidden landmines of site development.
Okay, so beyond the natural environment, there are also contractual risks. CMAA emphasizes the CM's role in meticulously reviewing project contracts, looking for potential risks, liabilities, insurance requirements, waivers, bonds, liquidated damages, indemnity provisions. That sounds like a dense legal thicket to navigate.
This is where legal and financial sharpness become absolutely vital for the construction manager. The CM is tasked with meticulously reviewing all project contracts, identifying potential risks, liabilities that could fall back on the owner or the team. This includes scrutinizing the tiny details of insurance requirements, understanding the exact implications of waivers, indemnity clauses that shift responsibility, carefully assessing the impact of various surety bonds, liquidated damages provisions for delays. It's about understanding the legal framework of risk transfer, risk protection, making sure the project is shielded from unforeseen financial and legal exposure.
And speaking of bonds, help in details surety bonds, bid bonds, performance bonds, payment bonds. What do these actually do for a project, like financial safety nets?
Surety bonds are indeed crucial financial safety nets. They protect the owner from various kinds of contractor default. A bid bond protects the owner if a contractor wins the bid, but then refuses to actually sign the contract at that price. Defaults. A performance bond is arguably the most critical. Protects the owner if the contractor fails to complete the project according to the contract documents, the specs. If the contractor goes bankrupt, abandons the job, the surety company steps in. And a payment bond safeguards the owner if the prime contractor fails to pay subcontractors or vendors. Prevents leases being placed against the property. Halpin notes the bid bond is often like a lead parachute for the bigger performance and payment bonds. Gives the owner early protection.
Another critical risk area, which Halpin highlights, is construction safety. OSHA regs, general safety meetings, toolbox meetings for crews, all vital. But it's not just about compliance checks, is it? Our sources suggest a need for a new theory of accidents.
Indeed. Construction safety is absolutely non-negotiable, goes way beyond a checklist. Halpin details OSHA regulations, enforced by regional offices, the importance of regular general safety meetings with supervisors, weekly toolbox meetings with crews to keep safety top of mind. But beyond just compliance, our sources from Howell and others emphasize this need for a new theory of accidents. This shifts the focus from simply following rules to fostering a genuine proactive desire to prevent injuries. Encouraging innovation through safety committees, a systemic approach, it's a cultural shift. Prioritizing human life over just getting it done fast. Understanding that a safe site is actually an efficient site.
That's a really powerful thought. And tying into that, Ballard and Tomlin present a problem-solving cycle. Detect, correct, analyze, prevent, DCAP. Can you give us an example? How does that work in practice? Maybe a real-world scenario.
Absolutely. The DCAP cycle is structured, continuous learning. vital for embedding safety and quality. Let's imagine, okay, a worker drops a heavy wrench from scaffolding, narrowly misses someone below. 1. Detect. The injury is minor, thankfully, but the near miss is immediately detected. 2. Correct. Immediate corrective action. Worker checked, area below cordoned off, work stops to secure loose tools, stops the immediate danger. 3. Analyze E. But that's not enough. The team then analyzes the root causes, using maybe the 5 whys technique. Why was the wrench dropped? Lost grip. Why lost grip? Wrench was greasy. Why greasy? Using a dirty rag. Why dirty rag? Clean ones weren't available. Why not available? Supply issue or bad stocking procedure. 4. Prevent. Finally, they implement measures to prevent it happening again. Maybe mandating tool tethering for all work at height, ensuring a constant supply of clean rags. Retraining on tool handling. It's about closing the loop, turning an incident into a robust system improvement.
That's a perfect illustration. Learning from mistakes, proactively building a safer, more efficient project. Finally, let's talk communication, the lifeblood of collaboration. It really feels like this underpins everything else we've discussed. The nervous system of a megaproject. The PMBOK guide says much of project work is actually associated with communication and engagement.
Absolutely. The PMBOK guide states it clearly. A significant, often underestimated chunk of project work involves active communication, active engagement, particularly keeping project team members and other stakeholders actively involved. Effective, ongoing dialogue isn't just a side effect, it's the engine driving collaboration, ensuring alignment across the whole project ecosystem. It's the first line of defense against misunderstanding, conflict. Without it, even the most brilliant plans will just falter.
So how do you actively foster that? The PMBO guide talks about creating open and transparent working environments where concerns can be raised without fear. Sounds like an early warning system.
It's exactly an early warning system. And it ties right back to that principle of care we talk about. Creating transparent environments, open communication channels, where everyone feels psychologically safe to raise concerns without fear of penalty. Fundamental. This ensures critical information, including potential issues or emerging risks, gets shared freely, early. It allows for proactive problem solving, not reactive crisis management. And it's vital for building, maintaining trust among all parties, no matter how different their roles are.
And this engagement isn't just reactive, right? It's strategic. The PMBO guide points out stakeholder engagement starts early, continues throughout. Defining, sharing a clear vision, even negotiating with resistant stakeholders. Sounds like high-stakes diplomacy.
Strategic engagement is like high-stakes diplomacy. Essential for building alignment right from the start. It begins even before the project physically kicks off. Meticulously defining, sharing a clear, compelling vision all key stakeholders can get behind. This often involves tough negotiations, especially with stakeholders who might initially resist the project or its impacts, but it's essential for fostering productive involvement, generating buy-in, mitigating future conflicts throughout the project lifecycle. It's about building a coalition, not just a structure.
Okay, to manage all this communication, there has to be a controlled flow of information. Otherwise, just chaos. The CMAA talks about management information systems, MIS.
Management information systems are absolutely essential for structured, controlled communication. CMAA specifies the CM should set up a robust MIS, keep the whole team informed about overall project status, forecasts, compared to the project management plan. This system defines the authoritative data sources, the control elements for time and cost, distribution methods for reports, their frequency, meticulous record retention policies. It's the project's central nervous system. Ensures a sound, consistent basis for managing the project, proactively spotting problem areas before they blow up.
And to maintain that control, that leadership, the CMAA says all communications with professionals, contractors, should go through the CM, or at least with their prior knowledge. No side channels, basically. It's single point of truth.
Exactly. That centralized coordination is crucial. Maintains order, leadership, a single point of truth. CMAA stipulates all comms with design pros, contractors, should be funneled through the CM, or happen with their explicit prior knowledge. This stops people circumventing established lines, which could lead to misunderstandings, duplicated effort, unauthorized decisions, conflicting instructions. It fundamentally preserves coordination control, prevents the project fragmenting into siloed, uncoordinated efforts.
It sounds like meetings are a huge part of this controlled flow. CMAA categorizes them: pre-construction meetings, progress meetings, special meetings.
Each meeting type serves a distinct, vital purpose. Managing information, collaboration. Pre-construction meetings happen early. Orient all contractors to project procedures, safety rules, site requirements, sets the stage. Progress meetings are regular, often weekly. Monitor compliance with schedules, coordinate efforts between trades, review progress, collectively problem-solve emerging issues. And special meetings are called ad hoc, as needed. Address immediate or urgent short-term issues that can't wait for the regular progress meeting, allows rapid response to critical situations. This structured approach ensures information gets out efficiently, problems get addressed promptly.
And then there's the sheer volume of paper or digital documents needs meticulous management. Sydney Levy and CMAA mention a correspondence distribution matrix, requests for clarification, RFCs, requests for information, RFIs, vital, especially during bidding.
Document management is indeed critical. Forms the project's indisputable paper trail, or digital trail now. A correspondence distribution matrix ensures all relevant parties get necessary communications. No one left out of the loop. Requests for clarification, RFCs, are formal tools used during bidding to seek clarification on vague or contradictory bid documents. Once a contract's awarded, requests for information, RFIs, become the formal process. Get additional details, resolve discrepancies in plans and specs. Levy emphasizes these formalized processes are crucial. Manage information flow. Avoid costly ambiguities that can derail things.
One specific document area Levy highlights as super important is shop drawing management. Tracking logs, weekly monitoring, written notices for delays. This can clearly become a critical bottleneck in the schedule.
Shop drawings are highly sensitive, often underestimated part of the process, as Levy points out. These are detailed drawings, prepared by contractors, subs. They translate the design intent into precise fabrication, installation instructions for specific components. They must be reviewed, approved by the design team before fabrication can start. Without a robust tracking log, diligent weekly monitoring, prompt written notifications for delays by either party, this process can significantly bottleneck the whole project schedule. Delays here ripple outwards, stop downstream construction, making diligent management of this specific workflow absolutely essential. 4. Modern approaches to megaproject delivery.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Look at some of the more modern, innovative ways megaprojects get delivered now. We're talking things like integrated project delivery, IPD, and lean construction. Our sources suggest IPD came about from wanting more productivity and more speed, but without the usual conflicts. Sounds like a cultural revolution in construction.
It truly is a cultural revolution. As Jackson and others detail, IPD started, mid-90s? From a deep desire to get past the inherent conflicts, the adversarial dynamics, the inefficiencies of traditional delivery methods, it's a fundamental paradigm shift, emphasizes deep collaboration, shared risk-reward, mutual trust, a real team-first spirit. Among all key players, owner, designer, contractor, key trade partners, often all under a single multi-party contract. It's designed to align everyone's incentives.
So not just a contract type, a completely different culture of working together. And IPD often goes hand in hand with lean principles in practice. What does lean bring to construction that makes it so effective?
Lean construction applies principles from, optimized manufacturing to the construction industry. Goal is maximizing value for the owner by systematically optimizing workflow, aggressively reducing waste in all forms. Our sources show how lean uses methods like the last planner system we talked about, plus rigorous constraints analysis, structured problem-solving cycles. The goal is to dramatically improve the reliability of planning, execution, ultimately boosting productivity, speed, quality, while minimizing rework, unnecessary costs. It's about getting more from less, more reliably.
What's fascinating is our sources point out IPD teams are really good at sense-making. They can take owner goals, even if they're initially unclear or change mid-project, and quickly translate them into action. That sounds like a superpower for a complex, dynamic megaproject.
It absolutely is a superpower, especially when goals can shift. This sense-making ability is a hallmark of high-performing IPD teams. Research shows these teams excel at understanding, translating often ambiguous or evolving owner goals into concrete, actionable steps. Their collaborative structure, shared incentives, let them quickly adapt and make collective decisions even when initial targets move. This adaptability, plus a strong team culture, allows them to consistently meet or beat expectations for budget and schedule, even if the starting line shifts a bit.
And lean thinking extends beyond the immediate team, right, to the whole supply chain. Our sources from Elfin and Ballard talk about supplier development. Involves pre-qualification, performance evaluation, setting clear standards for quality, delivery reliability. It sounds like building strong alliances, not just transactions.
Supplier development is indeed a key strategic part of lean. It involves systematically working with suppliers, not just as buyers, but as partners. To continually improve their capabilities, their performance, can start with basic steps, like making sure they meet legal, company requirements, then progress to collaboratively setting clear standards for measuring quality, delivery reliability, innovation. It's about building a robust, resilient, reliable supply chain that can consistently meet project demands, moving way beyond just picking the lowest bidder to fostering long-term, mutually beneficial relationships.
Okay, let's talk technology's role, because that has completely changed the game for managing mega projects. Building information modeling, BIM, seems to be right at the forefront.
BIM, Building Information Modeling. Yeah, it's a powerful transformative enabler for modern construction. Acts as the project's digital twin. Our sources highlight it as crucial for collaborative smart tech, lean processes. It creates this rich, digital representation of the physical and functional characteristics of a facility. Serves as a shared knowledge resource for information about the building. This reliable, integrated digital model forms the basis for informed decisions throughout the building's whole life cycle: concept design, construction, operation, even eventual demolition.
But even with sophisticated tools like BIM, there are still interoperability challenges. Kiepert mentions the goal is seamless data transfer between BIM tools and engineering analysis, BEA tools, using formats like IFCs, GBXML, but acknowledges a partial disconnect. Still needs significant designer involvement. Sounds like the digital languages don't always speak perfectly to each other yet.
You've hit on a critical pain point there. This partial disconnect is a significant hurdle the industry is still actively working on.
Mm.
While there's a strong desire for seamless data transfer using open formats like Industry Foundation Classes, IFCs, and Green Building XML, GBXML, for things like energy analysis, Kaber points out data exported from BIM software isn't always fully compatible for running comprehensive whole building energy simulations without additional, often time-consuming designer input. This affects the smooth workflow from design to analysis, documentation, even measurement and verification. Underscores that the grand vision of full, effortless interoperability, still a work in progress, requires manual bridges in that digital gap.
And as tech advances, buildings themselves are becoming smart. Barbara Jackson notes how automated systems control temperature, airflow, lighting, demanding innovation not just in design but in construction methods, management too. These buildings are becoming like living, breathing entities.
The rise of smart buildings fundamentally changes everything about megaproject management. As Jackson describes, these facilities seamlessly integrate computers, networks, advanced software to automate, optimize specific operations, often in real time. This necessitates profound innovation in construction methods, materials. Projects now have to incorporate complex, integrated automation systems, often Division 25 in CSI master format, and sophisticated communication infrastructure, Division 27. This requires highly specialized expertise, meticulous coordination, a deeply integrated project team far beyond what was needed for traditional builds.
Moving from smart to sustainable. Sustainability, green building and life cycle thinking is no longer just a buzzword. It's fundamental, ethical, economic. How do our sources define green building?
Green building is comprehensively defined as the practice of designing, constructing, operating buildings to maximize occupant health and productivity, use fewer resources, reduce waste and negative environmental impacts, and critically decrease life cycle costs. Our sources from Jackson and Kippert emphasize it's truly at the heart of sustainability, aiming for resource-efficient, ecologically sound approaches that consider the entire ecosystem impact, not just the building footprint.
And to standardize, certify these efforts, we have rating systems. LEED, Green Globes in the US, BREEAM in the UK, Green Star in Australia, GBEAL in China. These give tangible checklists for achieving green status.
These rating systems, as Kippert details, have dramatically increased the market penetration, the adoption of green buildings globally. They provide structured checklists, clear criteria, certification levels, allow project teams to achieve green status even without a deep, innate understanding of ecological design. While incredibly valuable for market adoption, setting a baseline, it's also noted that while these systems guide us, a deeper, more holistic understanding of natural systems, integrated design, can lead to truly exceptional high-performance buildings, rather than just compliant ones. They're a vital guide, but not the whole journey.
One key concept for sustainability, especially long-term, is life cycle costing, LCC. Sounds like looking way beyond the initial price tag.
That's precisely it. And it's a game changer for decision-making. Life cycle costing, as Kiepert emphasizes, is a decision-making basis for building procurement that radically shifts focus. Beyond short-sighted capital or first costs, it rigorously accounts for all costs associated with a building over its entire lifespan. Initial design, construction, through operation, maintenance, energy use, even eventual demolition or repurposing. This holistic view helps make truly economically and ecologically sound decisions. even if initial capital costs are higher, because it recognizes the massive long-term energy and environmental impacts. It's about investing wisely for the future.
So let's hear about some sustainable strategies in action. Our sources have some compelling examples of how this thinking translates into real structures.
Indeed. Dig provides excellent examples of how integrated design really leads to efficiency. The Pertamina Energy Tower in Jakarta, for instance, engineered with an optimized tapering shape, external fins to precisely control solar loads, led to enormous passive energy savings. Another fantastic example, the Rocky Mountain Institute Innovation Center in Colorado, features an ingenious earth canal for air cooling heating, sophisticated rainwater harvesting for irrigation, toilet flushing, a green roof, collectively saving over 600,000 gallons of potable water annually, significantly cutting energy use. These aren't just add-ons. They're deeply integrated solutions yielding profound, measurable benefits.
That's incredibly impressive. What about materials and resources in sustainable construction? How does that factor into the bigger picture?
Material selection is a hugely critical component, often overlooked in its complexity. Our sources highlight using recyclable and recycled content materials, which requires careful distinction. We differentiate post-industrial waste materials recycled within the same manufacturing plant and post-consumer waste materials recycled from homes or businesses into new products, like plastic bottles becoming insulation. Post-consumer content often gets weighted higher in rating systems like LE. Because it's harder to do, has greater environmental impact. Additionally, strategies aim to reduce embodied carbon, AC, the energy investment in materials from extraction to manufacturing and transportation carbon, TC, accounting for distribution, movement. It's a holistic view of a material's entire journey and impact.
So sustainability isn't just an afterthought, not just a green coat of paint. It's integrated into every single phase. Our CMAA sources show sustainability reviews, life cycle analysis are incorporated right from design all the way through procurement.
Absolutely. CMAA firmly establishes how sustainability considerations get meticulously woven into the entire project lifecycle, making it integral, not an add-on. This includes agreeing on the detailed scope of sustainability reviews during design, conducting comprehensive life cycle energy usage analyses, establishing clear ALE or green globe targets from the start. In procurement, bid documents include specific sustainable requirements for contractors. There are even minimum sustainability-related qualifications for bidders. This ensures green principles are embedded from inception through execution and beyond, truly creating a project that respects its environmental impact. V. Elevating your career. Applying the standards.
Okay, so we've covered the immense challenges of megaprojects and the robust professional frameworks designed to tackle them. But for you, the listener, the aspiring manager, how do you take all this information, this treasure trove of insights, and actually use it effectively to elevate your career? It really starts with embracing these frameworks, doesn't it?
That's the fundamental first step. And it's transformative. Understanding that frameworks like PMBOK and CMAA standards aren't just bureaucratic hurdles, but structured, battle-tested approaches to an incredibly complex field. That's crucial. As their initial mission suggested, they truly offer a shortcut to being well-informed, providing proven methodologies, best practices, a common language, things that would otherwise take years, decades maybe, to learn through trial and error. They give you a profound head start.
And it's definitely not a one-and-done thing. The field is constantly evolving. Our sources, including Peter Drucker, the PMBOK guide, strongly emphasize continuous learning for practitioners. Sounds like a professional superpower in this dynamic environment.
Continuous learning is a professional superpower. In an ever-shifting landscape, the dynamic nature of project management, rapid tech advances, evolving client demands, new challenges like smart buildings, sustainability absolutely demands it. Practitioners have to actively seek to update their knowledge, their skills, adapt to new approaches, new delivery models, to stay effective, relevant, innovative throughout their careers. Drucker particularly highlights managers must take personal responsibility for their own self-development. It's not just handed to you.
Right, taking that personal ownership. Drucker also talks about developing responsibility, where managers actively participate in setting objectives, commit with a positive act of assent. That sounds like a deeper level of buy-in than just following orders.
It's about genuine, profound commitment, engagement. Drucker argues truly effective managers must take full responsibility for their jobs. This means actively participating in setting the objectives for their units, committing to them with a positive act of assent, a conscious affirmative agreement. This isn't passive compliance. It means they truly understand the ultimate business goals, what's expected, precisely how success will be measured, fostering a deep personal sense of ownership, not just delegated task completion.
But while standards give structure, successful management isn't just following a checklist, is it? Halpin and CMAA imply it also depends on keen observation, critical thinking, and a genuine desire to prevent accidents and injuries. It's about going beyond the textbook, applying wisdom.
Absolutely. While frameworks provide an essential roadmap, a robust structure, true excellence in management goes far beyond rote application. It requires the ability to critically observe real-world situations, apply astute judgment, think proactively, especially in areas like safety, where a genuine, heartfelt desire to protect workers, as Halpin notes, is far more impactful than just complying with rules. It's the nuanced human application of structured knowledge, transforming rules into intelligent action.
Finally, let's touch on the qualities of an effective manager. How does good CM define leadership and service?
CMAA describes good construction management leadership not as dominance, not command and control, but as service which integrates the individual elements of the project delivery process into a cohesive, harmonious program. It's about enabling the team, fostering seamless collaboration, guiding all parties towards shared goals. Always putting the project's success, the owner's objectives, first. It's orchestration, facilitation, not just delegation.
That's a powerful redefinition of leadership in a project setting. And what about integrity and high standards? Peter Drucker has some very strong words on that.
Drucker is unequivocally clear on this. His words are a stark reminder. He asserts an effective manager demands exacting workmanship of themselves and others, sets consistently high standards, rigorously focuses on what is right, not merely who is right in an argument. He goes so far as to say a manager who lacks these qualities, no matter how likable, brilliant, technically proficient, is fundamentally a menace, unfit to be a manager. This underscores the non-negotiable moral, ethical foundation needed for true leadership, for trust.
Wow. Setting the bar incredibly high. And given the dynamic, unpredictable nature of megaprojects, adaptability is clearly key. PMBOK emphasizes tailoring. Drucker discusses needing a long-range strategy, anticipating future needs, like Sears did with its historic shift. This all sounds like a blend of adaptability and vision.
It's about being both incredibly flexible and profoundly forward-thinking. Projects are unique, so managers must inherently understand PMBOK's principle of tailoring delivery models to specific contexts, knowing when to pivot from one approach to another. Simultaneously, as Drucker illustrates with Sears, effective managers need a long-range vision, constantly anticipating future market needs, tech shifts, societal changes, adapting strategies for sustained success, not just reacting to immediate demands. It's about steering the ship towards a constantly evolving horizon.
And to foster these crucial qualities, manager development is critical. Drucker points out managers need to actively participate in self-appraisal, seek guidance from superiors, and companies need to create environments where managers can be developed and tested. It's a two-way street for growth.
This highlights the vital importance of an organizational culture that actively supports growth. Continuous improvement. Drucker argues, while the intrinsic motivation for development must come from within each manager, companies, superiors play a crucial role in encouraging, guiding that development. Through joint self-appraisal, honest feedback, creating diverse opportunities for managers to be developed and tested on challenging projects. This continuous, reciprocal investment in human capital ensures a pipeline of capable, ethical, highly adaptive leaders for the future.
What an incredible deep dive into the fascinating, intricate world of mega project management. We've covered so much today. From the sheer daunting scale, the emergent complexity of these monumental undertakings, to the incredible detail and strategic power of professional frameworks like PMI's PMBOK guide and the CMAA's standards of practice, these frameworks, they're far from just theoretical. They truly provide the essential structure, the guiding principles, the practical practices needed to navigate everything from intricate stakeholder engagement to meticulous risk mitigation, the very financial pulse of a project. They truly are the unsung heroes behind the world's most impressive, awe-inspiring constructions.
Indeed. We've really peeled back the layers, seen how these frameworks translate colossal ambition into achievable, controllable outcomes. Offering a structured approach to what often seems like an insurmountable task, they really are the scaffolding for human ingenuity.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. In a world where buildings aren't just getting taller, but increasingly smart, interwoven with tech, and project complexity is only going to continue its dizzying ascent, what new, unforeseen consequences might emerge from our reliance on these increasingly sophisticated, highly structured management systems? And as those lines between physical and digital keep blurring, how might future generations of managers balance that relentless pursuit of efficiency with the intrinsic human need for maybe more organic adaptation, more creativity? That intuitive sense-making we touched on earlier, It's a question that challenges us to keep evolving, not just our structures, but our very approach to leadership, right alongside our incredible creations.